Time to round up a big topic from the week. As students return to school, there will be a new law in effect. Kids will no longer face criminal penalties for skipping school, but their parents could. Texas's current law allows schools to file misdemeanor charges against students who skip school too often, but the rules change September 1st. The new law eliminates criminal court hearings and stints in adult jail for repeat truants. Schools would be required to do more to address attendance problems. So, is it time we stopped treating those who play hooky as criminals, or will the new law drive school attendance down and increase the dropout rate? The truancy law is our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you. Weigh in on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also send a tweet. Use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in the newsroom is our legal analyst, Chris Tritico. He's joined by our news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
So what do you think? Is it time we stopped decriminalizing people for playing hooky?
Well, this is the legislature's attempt to end the practice of charging everyone who skips school with a Class C misdemeanor to start out with and send them to a criminal court to possibly get a criminal conviction. Now, I want to give credit to most of the JPs who did not give a lot of convictions to kids who were just skipping school. The really bad ones did get the convictions, but a lot of them got a deferred adjudication. But to clog the courts up with something that should be handled in-house by schools is what the legislature tried to stop. And under this new law, a parent can still be charged eventually if the school's interdiction efforts and the parents' interdiction efforts don't work to end the problem of truancy. But I think it was a great move. You were late again, so I'm going to start with Jackie. Never here on time. Never here on time. This is a good move, I think, by the legislature. But a parent can still get charged eventually with this crime.
Yeah, I think it's funny we're talking about truancy and he's never on time. But anyway,
he's truant.
I want to give kudos to State Rep James White, because he's the one who authored this bill. And you're right. It is trying to relieve the court system and have the resources in the court system attend to more serious matters. I do think that, and with this new law, the implications for the parents are the same as the old law, but it's just not going through the court system at an early stage.
Yeah, eventually.
And so I do think it is the, I didn't even know, I mean, when I read this, I was like, how many students are actually truant? We had 115,000 cases last year.
Right.
And research has shown that even though at the time court intervention would happen, it didn't show that it was actually preventing the truancy.
Correct.
So
it's actually getting them out of school more to go to court.
To go to court. So I actually think that the parents of these students need to really look at home and see what's going on. Why are your students skipping school, and try to get a handle on their students. You
know, Mustafa, under the law that takes effect September 1st, any student under 12 years of age or older has 10 unexcused absences in a 6-month period. The school officials have to first determine what the absences are for. Is the student homeless, pregnant, in foster care, or is that student a primary breadwinner for their family, which is a sad fact, a primary breadwinner? If that's the case, they can't file charges.
Well, it's trying to look at the root causes of the problem, and I think it's about time this type of legislation passed. We had almost like a pipeline from high schools to prison, and that has to be eliminated, and putting the focus back on parents, and more importantly, more than any parents, taking a look at what is the issue. If the person doesn't have a place to live, and you're talking about truancy, right? That's not really the problem. We have to fix their homelessness first. And so I think that we're headed down the right track. I hope the implementation is done well, and I commend the legislature for doing this.
Coming back, I want to talk about, he said putting the focus on the parents, but I want to talk coming back about putting the focus back on the schools to do their job, because I think that moving these into the courts took it out of the school, and that's where it ought to be. I'm going to go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people weighing in on our Facebook page this morning. Good morning to all of you. Thanks for joining us. We want to head over and look at Natalie's comment first. She says, kids don't like school. It's natural. They don't have the life experience or the maturity to make some decisions. And she says, basically, that we as adults need to guide them. There are so many things that can ruin them. And so it seems like she's, in favor of decriminalizing truancy. And then we scroll down here. Reginald says, we keep trivializing bad behavior. If punishments are stiff and swift, it's going to turn people around. He thinks this just makes it worse.
I disagree with Reginald, and everything has shown that criminalizing truancy did not do anything to end the practice, and that is the maturity level, I think, and that's why I think, Jackie Valley, it ought to be in the schools and let the school administration handle truancy at the first stage.
Yeah, research has shown that putting these students in going in front of the court system has done nothing to really help the problem. And I think that's why James White came up with this bill, or co-authored the bill. And yes, this is a school problem, an administration problem. Some of the teachers, they haven't vocalized it yet, but they are wondering how they're actually, since a lot of the burden is now being placed on them, they're now wondering how they're actually going to implement this. And so they're looking at new policies that they need to put in place. But I do think that it needs to go back in the classroom with the teachers and at home with the parents.
You know, practicing education law like I do, I have occasion to talk to parents who are going through this with children who they just can't get to go to school. They'll take them to school, they'll drop them off in front, and then the kid runs away. And the parent ends up charged with a crime. And the parent's saying to me, I don't know what else to do. I took him to school. I can't make him stay.
There are exceptions, right? I mean, and I think that you have to look at what's going on in that household and setting up the system in a way where the schools involved, putting in the legislation, looking at things like homelessness and other aspects of this, is a person working or not, creates an environment which parents and school system comes together to try to fix the problem, rather than shifting over to law enforcement. And so Senator Whitmire and others that have put this together, I think it's really worthwhile. It's an important piece of legislation.
The one piece of this law, Sally, that is the biggest tool they have is eventually the government will take away a driver's license of a child who skips school too much. And practicing law with juveniles, I've found that anytime you tell them you're going to lose your driver's license, they turn right around immediately.
I bet